The cemetery is quiet. It's a tiny plot of land tucked away behind the mortuary in southeast San Diego. On spring evenings, the sun spills across the grass. Roberto Umana comes every week to change the flowers. He places them in a vase that he spray-painted bright gold. He wanted his older brother's gravestone to have some color.
He liked very bright colors when it came to like his style, his fashion, like especially shoes. So I don't know, I think it just stands out really. That's kind of why I did it.
As Roberto tells it, his brother Brian was a pretty quiet person. He liked comedy and collecting sneakers. Like any younger sibling, Roberto looked up to him.
I remember he got his ears pierced. I wanted to get my ears pierced. Stuff like that. He was just my big brother. I wanted to follow him with whatever he was doing.
Brian was confronted by National City police officers in the early morning hours of October 2021. Roberto says Brian was in the middle of a mental health crisis, triggered by their father's death 8 years earlier. Body camera footage and court records show the encounter began when police dispatchers received a call about a person breaking into a storage facility. County investigators say the caller reported that the person was holding a blade and left on foot.
Where's the knife at?
3 officers responded, body cameras rolling. They found Brian pacing along the sidewalk in the rain, holding a machete in his right hand. In their video, you can see that he's barefoot. The cuffs of his brown pants look like they're soaked with water. They yell at him to drop the machete and threaten to release a police dog. Brian starts walking away from them up the sidewalk. One of the officers fires a taser, and Brian flinches. 2 officers move in close. Brian turns towards them and raises the machete. 2 officers, Evan Davis and Michael Sportelli, open fire. Davis with a handgun, Sportelli with a high-powered AR-15 rifle. They hit Brian 8 times, according to the DA's office. In the video, Brian freezes and topples from the sidewalk into the street. It was the 3rd time in 4 years that National City Police confronted someone in crisis, and that encounter turned fatal. In 2018, a black man named Earl McNeil stopped breathing in custody after officers arrested him and used a full-body restraint device and a mesh face covering to bind his arms and legs.
Get on the ground!
In 2019, a white man named Tony Wilson died after officers pressed him against the ground and tased him repeatedly. County investigators eventually declined to bring criminal charges against the officers who shot Brian, but Roberto still had questions. He felt like there had been clear signs that Brian was mentally unwell. His bare feet, the time, 4 a.m., the fact that he was pacing back and forth.
It's kind of common sense that he was going through a mental health crisis and the officers didn't really de-escalate whatsoever.
A year after the shooting, Roberto filed a civil rights lawsuit in federal court, arguing that officers failed to de-escalate the situation and used excessive force. Separately, the families of Tony Wilson and Earl McNeil filed their own lawsuits. The cases stretched on for years, but eventually, in all 3, National City officials decided to pay to resolve them instead of allowing them to go before a jury. This past February, city officials paid Roberto and his family $1 million to resolve their case.
Every officer-involved shooting is traumatic for all involved.
City officials said the settlement didn't mean the city did anything wrong. Here's City Attorney Barry Schultz speaking at a city council meeting in February.
The City of National City and the police department agree that the officers' actions were justified during this critical incident.
But for some experts, these settlements do raise new questions about what National City has learned from these cases. Joanna Schwartz is a professor of law at UCLA and a national expert on police misconduct litigation. She says the city should be closely examining the information that emerged in court, combing through depositions and documents.
If there was an airplane crash and 3 people died, you would be opening up that black box to try to figure out what happened and what went wrong and whether there is any shift, any change that could be made to prevent it from happening again.
The settlement has changed some things for Roberto. The cemetery where Brian is buried used to be a place of anger and worry. But when he visited this past April, Roberto said he felt calm.
I'm very relaxed when I come here now. Very at peace.
Still, he does worry that the city may just plan to move on from his case and the cases of the other families. Tomorrow, we'll look at what National City is doing to change their policies when it comes to responding to people in crisis. In National City, Kori Suzuki, KPBS News.